And just a reminder, push to talk with your microphone, please. Have you already started? Righto. Everybody please stand. Thank you. Welcome everyone, councillors, officers, members of the gallery and those watching on the live stream to our scheduled June meeting of Swan Hill Rural City Council. And I declare the meeting open at 2:01 p.m. Swan Hill Rural City Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet and pays its respects to their elders past and present. Councillor Jennings, the opening declaration please.
We, the councillors of Swan Hill Rural City Council, declare that we will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of our community and faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Please be seated. We have no apologies today. Directors and officers present. We have Scott Barber, Chief Executive Officer, Michelle Granger, Director of Development and Planning, Bruce Myers, Director of Community and Cultural Services, Leah Johnston, Director of Infrastructure, Peter Brown, who is our Acting Director of Corporate Services. Welcome, Peter, to your first meeting of Council. Helen Morris, Organisational Development Manager, and Ash Free, Finance Manager. Welcome. Could I have somebody to move the confirmation of the minutes of the scheduled council meeting from the 20th of May 2025 and the unscheduled council meeting held on the 3rd of June 2025. Move Councillor Broad, seconder, Councillor McPhee, all those in favour, and that is carried. Thank you. Do we have any disclosures of conflict of interest, councillors? No? Yes, Mr Mayor. Yes, Councillor McPhee. Yes,
Mr Mayor. In relation to the in-camera item, I have a direct conflict in relation to that, as property owner is highlighted in that report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Do we need to move that? No. Thank you. No others? Thank you. We'll move on. We have no joint letters or petitions to present today. We do, however, have a public question time, so I can have a motion that we suspend standing orders to hear that question. Move Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Inglefield. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. So we have one public question today from Jackie Kelly. Question is regarding the advocacy that Council is doing as per the annual report 23-24. Can you update on the issue of the VicRail shunting yards proposal and how it may affect the pedestrian bridge over the rail? Can you assure the community that the shunting yards idea has nothing to do with future transport of mineral sands, rare earths that will be mined in our district? Mr CEO.
Thank you, Ms Kelly, for the question. Council's been discussing this matter with the Department of Transport and Planning and their need to ensure that the stabling in central Swan Hill is limited to the storage of velocity train carriages only and does not provide for storage of freight containers and carriages, which could be accommodated outside the Swan Hill town limits. This issue has also been raised with the Rail Freight Alliance that Council is a member of. Council's understanding from the Goshen Mine Environmental Effects Statement is that all transport of mineral sands and rare earths is to be stored and transported via the Ultima Intermodal Hub, which is on a separate line. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr CEO. We have nobody for open forum today, so I have a motion that standing orders be resumed to continue the meeting. Move Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Jennings. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. So we move to agenda item 2.1, Road Management Plan 2025 draft. Ms Johnston.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is in regards to the review of the Road Management Plan, which is required under the Road Management Act 2004 and is undertaken generally every 4 years in terms with council terms. A road management plan details how council manages its roads assets for inspections, for maintenance and repair timeframes, or to make safe. The Municipal Association of Victoria did provide a template to standardise the road management plans being developed across the sector. This template has been used and provides crucial information that is necessary wording to keep the road management plan in line with current best practice and legal advice, clear, measurable and comparable standards that will make it easy to monitor compliance and demonstrate that compliance through records of relevant activities. To provide a level of recommended ranges for each level of service that will be comparable to other local government areas. The document has now been comprehensively reviewed by staff, which included all the defects, inspection frequencies and timelines for repair. It is essential to have realistic timeframes that are achievable based on Council's budget and resources, and to protect Council legally from claims related to road assets. The Register of Public Roads has also been reviewed as part of this process. As required under the Act, the document must be advertised for 28 days for public submissions. So therefore, councillors, it is recommended that Council adopt the draft Road Management Plan 2025 and advertise for public comments as required under Section 223 of the Local Government Act 2020. If no submissions are received, proceed to adopt the Road Management Plan as presented to be effective as of the 1st of October 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Johnston. Any questions, councillors? Just for the purpose of the public, Ms Johnston, can you just, I know it's in the report, but can you just highlight the amount of roads that we actually have in our municipality?
We have a very large rural shire and a large network with over 3,000 kilometres of road.
Thank you. Just puts it into context as to how big our road network is. No questions, Councillor McPhee?
Move a motion, but we shouldn't be adopting the report yet. It's got to go out for community consultation. The council received the draft management report because we adopted after community consultation.
Thank you. So that slight change. Yep, got that one. Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Jennings. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, as the Director said, this is a plan that's done every 4 years. Members of the public are welcome to make a submission in relation to this, but they've got to remember this is about what needs to be done when there's defects in the road. It's about how often the roads are graded, this type of thing, what potholes, how deep they are before they're fixed, and our footpaths as well. And the other thing, when people are making a submission, be aware of what are council roads and what are Vic roads. We have in the past got a lot of submissions in relation to the Murray Valley Highway. That is not our road. We cannot do anything about that. So all I'm asking the people that do make a submission, be sure you're actually submitting in the correct terminology and on the correct roads and for the correct reason, not just because your road needs to be graded more often. It's just there is a hierarchy and there is a process. This is what this is all about. And as the Director said, the MOV have put out a draft plan in relation to this to try and keep all councils consistent. So we are not inconsistent with any other councils. Our standards may change slightly from one to the other, but in the majority of times we are consistent with every other council that we are working with in relation to our roads. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Jennings, you wish to speak?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just further to what Councillor McPhee has said there, this has been a huge piece of work to review and categorise every road in our municipality, and as was mentioned by the Director, over 3,000 kilometres of roads that had to be assessed and has to be maintained. And as a new councillor, I think this is very time for us that are new to be able to get our heads around how large this is. It's a comprehensive report and it provides classification, not only classification but response times, inspection schedules and maintenance management to, as I said, 3,057 kilometres of roads and 102 pages of a register of roads. So I commend the staff and thank them for the bit of work that they've done.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Have any speakers against the motion? Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll go. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would just like to reiterate what Councillor Jennings has put forward and thank very much to the staff, particularly Laura O'Dwyer, who presented at a recent briefing and gave us a full understanding of not only the complexities involved in the job that our council are doing in maintaining the roads, but the work that goes into the plan. So again, thank you, and thank you for helping us understand the task we have.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. With that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda item 2.2, Robinvale Hotel response to petition. Ms Granger.
Thank you, Mayor. So Council, at its last scheduled Council meeting, received a petition from the Robinvale community requesting that Council purchase the Robinvale Hotel site. it's appropriate that we have a look at a range of options, opportunities and risks to respond to this petition. The hotel has a fair bit of community interest, and it's important to understand that the hotel has heritage significance, but this significance has been diminished due to the damage by fire and the building being exposed to the elements over the last 10 years. It's privately owned, it's on freehold land, it's a commercial site, and it's currently subject to a planning permit application for demolition, which is the next item on our agenda. Council needs to consider the ask of the petition, having regard to the opportunities and burdens this may have on Robinvale and the wider community, assessing risk, costs, fairness and a range of other factors. Since receiving the petition, Council's continued to work through the planning permit application for partial demolition. And in doing that, we've had an independent heritage assessment of the proposal, and this report's attached to this petition. Just to set some broad parameters, it's a commercial 1 zone, it's a heritage overlay that signifies the building has local significance only. The all titles, so this site, the Robinvale Hotel site, is subject to 9 titles. The hotel sits on 2 of those titles, but all of the other titles are currently on the market for sale. And a relevant strategy where Council's looked at reuse of this site is the Robinvale housing strategy, and that specified redevelopment of the site or development of the site should be for hospitality and accommodation, so similar to the previous use. This Council has done a fair bit of work around the Robinvale Hotel site over the past 3 years, and I think it's important for the community to understand while these issues haven't necessarily become public, it's not as if Council hasn't been pursuing options for redevelopment of the site. So in considering the petition, I think it's important that Council and the community understand that Council's approached the owner on many occasions to find out what's happening with the site, what are his plans for the site and what's going to do with the derelict building. We've sought legal advice about acquisition of the hotel and have been advised that compulsory acquisition is not an option available to Council because there's no strategy that on Council's books that say the land is required for a community purpose. We've been advised also in that advice that we could try and purchase the hotel by agreement. So knowing that we couldn't compulsory acquire it over the last couple of years, we've approached the owner twice to see if he's interested in discussing with us the option for Council to purchase it. On both occasions, he said no, he has development plans for the site and he's not interested in that conversation. We've repeatedly sought that the site be secured to prevent trespass and ensure public safety. We've even got to the stage where we've issued a building order to have the site made safe, and that has occurred. And we've also issued a building notice as to reasons why the building should not be demolished. And I think it's that building notice which has really led to the planning permit application on the next agenda item being lodged with Council. It's also important to understand the investment Council is and has been making in Robinvale. Council's recognised the housing shortage and prepared the Robinvale housing and accommodation strategy and also a rural worker accommodation strategy. Additionally, Council has scoped, subdivided, tendered, project managed and constructed and recently sold all 8 homes in Ronald Street. It's successfully applied for Rural Worker Accommodation Fund and received state government funding to build another 10 dwellings in Macartney Court, and that project is now under construction. Council has a resolution to sell its resource centre in Herbert Street to facilitate redevelopment of the site for a mixed-use commercial and accommodation development. We've done recent works and upgrades at the Robinvale Recreation and Aquatic Centre. We've done curb and channel works and footpath. Last year, we adopted the Robinvale Riverfront Master Plan, and already we've done some of the works identified in that plan, such as a skate park, the newly opened playground at Centenary Park. We've got on the plans a new toilet block to be delivered this year, terracing of the riverbank near the rowing club, and an off-leash dog park. When we have worked through the issues raised by the petition, council's considered a range of options include doing nothing and allowing the planning permit to run its course, acquiring the site, offering a land swap, relocation of significant elements of the facade to another site, and supporting the Robinvale community with crowdfunding to secure the site. Council has considered the heritage advice, and consultants believe that undertaking all of the work, including facade retention, repair, site demolition, clearing and redevelopment will be a significant cost. The cost is in addition to the purchase price of the land, and if you look at what is currently on the market, excluding the hotel, there's an asking price of 1.28 million, which is significantly higher than our CIB rates. In reviewing the options, council appreciates a community concern, but does not consider that purchasing the site provides the best outcome for the town centre. The costs associated with purchase and demolition are unlikely to be recovered by council, and it's not considered a fair impost on ratepayers to be burdened in this way. Council may be supportive of the Robinvale community purchasing the hotel and acknowledges that this could occur in a variety of ways, from establishing a co-op or crowdfunding. And we know co-ops have saved pubs in other towns across Australia, including the Royal Hotel at Sea Lake, the Railway Hotel at Dingy, Nanderley Hotel, Yinnar Community Hotel and Lockington. We do acknowledge that those hotels were all in working order and not in the derelict state of the Robinvale Hotel. At this point in time, it's considered more appropriate to determine the planning permit for partial demolition. Council could then take a proactive approach once a permit is issued and continue to work with the owner of the site to ensure the derelict building is demolished, the site's left in a neat and tidy condition, and the Canary Island palm trees are retained. We understand there is strong local support for council to intervene in the ownership and development of that site, but believe the economic and environmental implications provide a significant risk for council. So at this stage, we're recommending that council consider the petition and does not support purchasing the Robinvale Hotel site, that it consider it inappropriate for council to absorb the costs and risks associated with the fire damaged building, and advise the petitioners of this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Very comprehensive report. Any questions, councillors, on that report in regards to the petition? If not, could I have a motion?
Yeah,
Councillor Englefield, sorry.
I'd like to move a motion to defer, please, Mr Mayor.
So procedural motion?
Procedural motion to defer, yep.
What is your procedural motion, Councillor Englefield?
That debate on item 2.2 Robinvale Hotel response to the petition be deferred until the next ordinary council meeting scheduled the 15th of July 2025 to allow the community to read and consider the reports and attachments listed in this agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded, Councillor Jennings. Being a procedural motion, we have no debate on this motion. The motion's on the screen. So just before we take a vote, we'll just give everybody a chance to read the motion. And I will now put the motion. All those in favour?
Mr Mayor, just prior to putting the motion,
Yes.
I do believe we don't have to have debate, but I do believe the mover has a right to speak to the motion. That's not debate.
That's not debate. I'll allow the mover, Councillor Englefield, the opportunity to speak to his motion and explain why he's moved the procedural motion.
Thank you, Mr
Councillor
Mayor.
Englefield.
I just feel that it's the Robinvale pub issue has been at best be described as a festering sore within the Robinvale community for the best part of the last 10 years. And it's a significant building in town that once its fate is decided, whatever that fate may be, that there will be no turning back. And in light of the fact that the way that council process works, that a lot of the officers' reports, a lot of the or for example, the Council's independent heritage assessment report. The community don't get to see those until last Thursday night if they happen to get online and look at the agenda papers. And so I think that it's really important for such an important issue within the Robinvale Township that the community at least has a chance to read the information as provided to us councillors, study, at least absorb the documents and have a chance to consider them, and if they so feel, lobby us councillors, and obviously me in particular, and I welcome anybody to call me, that, and give them a chance that over these next 30 odd days to respond to the papers as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. No further discussion or debate on this matter. The motion is there. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you. We will move on to agenda item 2.3, which is the planning application for 70 Perrin Street, Robinvale, partial demolition of a commercial building, being the Robinvale Hotel, in the heritage overlay. Ms Granger.
Thanks, Mayor. So, as you've heard, the Robinvale Hotel is at 70 Perrin Street. There's a planning permit requirement for demolition. The only reason a planning permit is required for a commercial building to be demolished is because of the heritage overlay that applies to the building. The application was advertised. Council received 4 letters of support and 25 objections. And key issues that need to be considered relate to the heritage significance and how the application responds to the planning policy framework. The proposal involves only partial demolition because they want to retain the bottle shop. The existing 2-storey hotel structure is in severe deterioration. Almost all the windows and doors have been damaged and the first floor is unsafe to access. In assessing the application, some of the planning policy matters, we've outlined many in the report. I'll just highlight the most significant, is that we should provide for the conservation and enhancement of those places that are of aesthetic, archaeological, architectural, cultural, scientific or social significance. We should encourage appropriate development that respects places with identified values, retain those elements that contribute to the importance of the heritage place, and support adaptive reuse of heritage buildings where their use has become redundant. And we should discourage the demolition or substantial alteration of any heritage place. If we are talking rebuild, we should encourage the mass and scale of development to contribute to the preservation of the character and historical attributes of the place without resorting to mock heritage or replication. The current state of the building is described as severely deteriorating, posing safety habits and contributing to visual blight at a prominent location in the Robinvale town centre. The demolition is a chance to enhance the appearance and amenity of the area, and any new development on the site will still need to be assessed, will still require a planning permit, both under the commercial zone but also under the heritage overlay. The report, we received an independent heritage assessment because we're not expert in every issue that needs planning permit. That heritage advisor actually came and visited the site and inspected it and has concluded that because of severe deterioration, it is unlikely to be feasible to save it and has recommended that we would approve demolition. That's not usually the par for course for most heritage buildings, but the deterioration of this building has led to that recommendation. However, the report also concluded that we should retain the Canary Island palm trees, and the potential use of the Spanish Mission architectural style should be used in any redevelopment of the site, and we could do that by applying a Section 173 agreement that ends up on the title, which commits future owners to have regard to those planning elements when they're redesigning the building. Turning to objections, so we did receive quite a number of objections. Some were processed related, and we acknowledge those concerns and take on board, and we can do some process improvement about how we give notice of an application. Concerns raised included loss of heritage significance, that we should retain and preserve notable features like the facade and palm trees, that lack of community consultation and transparency, concerned about inadequate and incorrect information, that we should have an alternate vision and future use proposed as part of the demolition application, not leave it to a subsequent planning permit for a new development, that it will have an impact on the community with a loss of symbolism, and they were calling for a public forum. As part of our standard process, we did have a forum where we invited objectors to come and present to us and outline the reasons for their concerns. It was a very well attended forum, and I think the community did a great job of putting their issues to council. In considering all of the information and balancing the planning policies and the independent advice, we do acknowledge there will be a social implication with loss of the hotel, but believe environmental and economic considerations outweigh those social implications. We're recommending that the notice of decision to grant a permit be issued for demolition with a range of conditions, including the Section 173 agreement, a demolition management plan, a tree management plan to ensure the Canary Island palms are retained and not demolished. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Do you have any questions on the report, councillors? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Ms Granger, just in relation to the last motion, I can sort of foresee a motion coming forward, and we can't ask questions once that motion's put. So bearing that in mind, if we deferred this matter, under planning conditions, and I don't know whether they relate to demolition things, but under planning permits, there's timeframes. Is there timeframes in relation to demolition permits, and does that give the applicant the opportunity to go straight to VCAT?
Yeah, so all planning permit applications have a 60-day time limit in which we try to determine the applications. If we don't determine an application within 60 days, and this application is way over our 60-day time limit, the applicant has a right to take us to VCAT on a failure to determine.
All right, and just a follow-on question, Mr Mayor, a couple of questions. In relation to that, going to VCAT, do we get the opportunity, like you've got a lot of conditions in our recommendation there, do we get the opportunity to put those recommendations if VCAT were to rule on it? And also, does that give the applicant the right, at our cost if he takes us to VCAT, to object to those conditions?
Yeah, so the expectation of VCAT when we've got a failure to determine application is that prior to the hearing, council would have determined what its decision would have been had it been in a position to make a decision. So if you were going to follow this recommendation, then we would have to submit this recommendation. So we would need to go to VCAT or submit to VCAT either a draft notice of refusal or a draft notice of permit, and a permit would include conditions similar to what we have here. The ability for council to ensure every condition is on there is weakened because VCAT is a decision maker, and the applicant would have a right to object to the content of conditions as part of the hearing process.
All right, and just one last question. In relation to this, like we've had a lot of difficulty dealing with the owners of this particular property in the past. By deferring it, does that put at risk he may go walkabout, for want of a better terminology?
That's a hard question to answer. I think I'd probably take the approach that I think we've been in constant contact with the owner. He is wanting a decision from council, but I think if we determine that it's only delayed until the next council meeting because we've got an end date, he may not go to VCAT as failure to determine.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Are there any other questions, councillors? Councillor Jennings.
Just a follow-up question, Ms Granger, on the... so we're over the 60 days now, so it really doesn't matter in terms of his ability to go to VCAT. By us delaying it is not going to change his option of going to VCAT if he so wishes.
I think the advice I always give council is we need to balance procedural fairness. So this application, so we have, in this case, we've been encouraging the owner of the land to lodge and the applicant to lodge this application. While it came in at November, we had to get some further information to get it to a point where we could give notice. He has been patient with us, but yeah, and we are over 60 days, so yes, the option is currently available to him, but I wouldn't want to see this process keep being
Drag
deferred.
on.
I don't think that's fair.
Thank you.
No other questions from councillors. I've got one. In relation to the heritage overlay, my understanding is that that's a local overlay. So the likes of Heritage Victoria, for example, doesn't have any ruling in that matter. Is that correct?
That's correct. So at the moment, the building is of local significance only, and it was highlighted in Council's heritage study early 2000s. If
that happened to be escalated, given that we have a heritage listed site at the Pioneer Settlement, for example, has that led to any additional funding from Heritage Victoria, for example, for the Pioneer Settlement site?
For Pioneer Settlement site, no, but there is some funding, very limited funding, available for private sites. But again, you would have to be weighing up and have regard to our heritage advice, which I think is fairly solid about the derelict nature of this building.
Yep. And if I may ask Ms Johnson a question regarding the structure of the building. There's a structural report within the documents. In your experience with these types of matters, do you think that's a fair judgment of the structural report and structural assessment of a fire damaged building based on your experience?
Thank you, Mayor. As a professional engineer, it is very difficult to, and from a professional perspective, we don't like to challenge the findings of other professional people in that space. Particularly for engineers with fire damage, it's a very difficult one to affirm whether or not the site is safe or what that true extent of that damage is to the mortar and things like that. And so if council was to go down the path of obtaining additional structural type reports, I think you'd find that you'd probably still get the same recommendations because engineers are also at risk from their professional indemnity insurance perspective. So based on the fact that there's a report that already says in the heritage assessment recommends demolition, I would suggest that if you were to go and get other advice, you'd probably potentially result in the same information coming back to council.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, can I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Englefield.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move a procedural motion to defer, please.
And your procedural motion is, Councillor Englefield?
That the debate on item 2.3, planning permit application 70 Parent Street, Robinvale, partial demolition of a commercial building, Robinvale Hotel, in the heritage overlay be deferred until the next ordinary council meeting scheduled on the 15th of July 2025 to allow the community to read and consider the reports and attachments listed in this agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Seconded, Councillor Jennings. Thank you. Do you have any further context you'd like to add? Obviously, this is similar to the previous agenda item.
Yeah,
Councillor Englefield, if there's any additional context you'd like to add before we take a vote?
No, other than it's of the considerable importance this is to the Robinvale community and the very short time the community's had to consider the officers' reports, the officers' recommendations. Yes.
Thank you. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We will move on to agenda item 2.4, VicGrid developing the 2025 Victorian Transmission Plan. Ms Granger, your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Victorian Government, through VicGrid, its agency for renewable energy, has released the draft Victorian Transmission Plan. It's a blueprint for the next 15 years as the state government works towards its goal of net zero emissions. it highlights that we need a significant amount of new energy sources to replace coal-fired power. The draft plan identifies wind, solar and battery project opportunities, upgrades for key transmission lines and construction of new transmission lines, and the establishment of 7 renewable energy zones across the state. Community consultation is open and submissions are due by the 24th of June. Swan Hill is included in one of the renewable energy zones called the Northwest Zone. It's largely in Swan Hill and Gannawarra. It pushes south towards Kerrang, going out towards Ultima, but does not appear to include Lake Boga. The energy expected to be generated from this zone is up to 4.8 gigawatts of wind, estimated to be about 80 turbines, and developing about 2% of the land, and up to 1.4 gigawatts from solar energy. So in the 7 zones across Victoria, solar energy is largely all within the Northwest Renewable Energy Zone. That's estimated to need at least 2,000 hectares of land developed with solar panels. And solar panels, different to wind, take up about 75% of the land mass on the areas which they occupy. Interesting to note that battery storage is also being considered, and if projects in Northwest have battery power supply, they could supply more than 200,000 Victorian homes. In considering this plan, VicGrid has highlighted that they want to work more closely with communities and have increased investment with landholder negotiations and surrounding communities. They want to work more closely with the First Nations, and they also want to work closely with project developers to ensure that there's network access arrangements that tie in between the transmission lines that are required and the renewable energy zones. They say that in considering how they've framed the renewable energy zone, so probably about 8 months ago we shared with Council that most of Northwest Victoria was all in one renewable energy zone. This time we've seen it narrowed down to being probably a quarter of that size. They've taken into regard biodiversity, regional impacts, costs, regional opportunities and impact on agriculture. We're saying that Council should make a submission to the transmission plan and that we should raise the prospect of expansion of the renewable energy zone if circumstances change, that if there is removal of water for some of our agricultural land, maybe renewable energy is a relevant reuse component, that our submission should cover off issues on economic and employment, protection of the natural environment, amenity and community benefits and constraints, that any project value adds to other projects through the provision of cheaper and cleaner power to the region, that any renewable projects should factor in infrastructure upgrades, should include First Nations community involvement. We're particularly keen to see ongoing consultation with the community and should identify other possible transmission lines. So when we had a meeting with some VicGrid representatives, they talked about upgrading the transmission line from Swan Hill to Weeman. That's not actually in the plan, and we say it should go back into the plan. So we have a draft submission that we're seeking you to endorse so that we can put it in a submission to the transmission plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Granger. Do we have any questions in regards to the report? None there. I've got one. Just for clarification, Ms Granger, with regards to Council's role in planning determinations with respect to solar farms, wind farms, transmission lines, that sort of thing. Can you just, for the benefit of the public, just outline what role Council has in determining planning matters with relation to those things?
Okay. So Council is a stakeholder in the assessment process, so any planning permit application goes to the Minister for Planning for determination or to go through an environment effects process, and we're a stakeholder in that process. We're not the decision maker. However, when a permit is issued, the enforcement and administration of that permit falls back to Council.
So we don't determine it, but we have to administer it.
That's correct. So we've got to ensure there's compliance with the conditions, and we approve the traffic management plans, the environment management plans. We might need to sign off on biodiversity studies or reporting that comes as a result of the permit.
So normally, I'll get to you. So normally with a planning application, an applicant would pay a planning application fee, which would cover off the types of things that you're talking about, an officer time to assess the permit and manage the process, etc. In this instance, where the application goes direct to the Minister for Planning, but council is expected to administer part of the process and look after all the things you outlined, do we get any sort of reimbursement for doing that, or does that come at our cost?
That's at council's cost.
Right. But we make no determination on it.
No. And so we're not the responsible authority, so we don't get the fees. The fees go to the responsible authority, which in this case is the minister,
But we still do some of the work.
at the end of the day,
Yes.
if a
Okay.
permit's issued.
Thank you. I just wanted to be
Yep.
clear that we're, from a public perspective, that we don't really have determination powers. Councillor McPhee, you were first.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Ms Granger, firstly, in the letter you've got written under councillor background, you've got Swanhill's in northwest Victoria and has a population exceeding toward, so I just need some wording corrected there, exceeding toward doesn't sound right. But anyway, in relation to solar farms, there's no mention in the letter that I see anywhere where the rates we obtain from solar farms, I'm just remembering back to one of my previous councillors in a previous council who's very passionate about this area. We don't actually get CIV value on solar farms. And as a result, if we do have land that goes into make up these solar farms, our rate base is going to be affected. How does that puts extra rates on the other ratepayers? Can we make a mention of that type of thing in this letter?
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Yes, that's correct. So renewable energy projects are rated under the Electricity Act, and they're under a system called payment in lieu of rates. So for a solar farm, often that provides a discount, and because a solar farm occupies more land, we often get less rates than what we would have got if the land continued to be farmed, which means the way we then split our rates means other farmers are covering some of that burden. And yes, we could include that in our submission.
Yeah, I think we need to include that in our submission because that's something I think the state government needs to be reminded of, is the fact that, as you say, I'm going back to Councillor Moore, if he happens to be listening. He was very passionate in relation to this area. And, I think it's something that needs to be highlighted to the people. We're not against having solar farms up here, but we need to be able to ensure that the other people in our community, the other ratepayers, are not burdened by having these come into our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. Just a question regarding the renewable energy zones. I note that you have put into the submission rightly that we could consider expanding Swan Hill's coverage in the renewable energy zone. My understanding is that community benefits, if you are within the renewable energy zone, may be more clearly spelt out, perhaps, and also that planning within those renewable energy zones for projects, because projects can still happen outside those zones, may be streamlined or made easier to use that terminology.
Yeah, VicGrid have a draft community benefits outline, and it is saying that they will collect the money and then disperse it according to projects that they see of value, and particularly projects that are somewhere founded in energy transition. I think from a council point of view, it would still be best for community benefits to go from the companies directly to the communities that are affected by the project, but we would support the money that's collected for transmission projects, which are largely going to be across multiple municipalities, being treated in the way VicGrid have discussed.
Thank you. Councillor Inglefield, then Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Given that council is not the determining authority for these applications, for community's information, what are objectors' rights? Or are there any?
Yeah, so objectors still have exactly the same rights under the Planning and Environment Act as they do for any planning permit application. When you've got an application in front of you, you're dealing with volumes and volumes of material. If we're in an EES process, they'll usually get 4 to 6 weeks to comment and can talk to a panel. However, in a planning permit process, it's not an EES. They get 4 weeks to comment, but third-party rights to appeal the decision of the minister have been removed.
So in layman's terms, there are no objectors' rights.
The objectors can be part of the process and can be heard, but they don't have any rights to take the minister to VCAT.
Just for clarification on that, my understanding is they can go to the Supreme Court. Is that correct?
Only on a point of law.
Only on a point of law, not in regards to the actual application?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rogers and then Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just wondering to ask Council if there's been any long-term strategic reviews or plans for the Swanhill municipality to understand the needs in the future, the infrastructure that we've got, and that we've got the ability for sustainable growth into the future.
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Councillor Thornton.
Just referring back to the objectors' rights, my understanding too from reading the draft is that there's a difference between energy generation projects and transmission projects, so the two very, very different.
Yeah, so generally with a project, so a development project, you'll either go through a planning permit process or an EES process. My understanding with transmission projects is they're largely to all go through an EES process, which the EES process leads to a planning permit as an outcome.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, can I have a motion, councillors? Councillor Rogers.
Yes, I'd like to move a motion that we accept the recommendations in the report as noted with a minor amendment.
Thank you, and that amendment has been
Tabled. We could
submitted.
put that up on the board, or the councillor has got a copy of it. I'll read the amendment out, Mr Mayor.
I'm happy that it's on the screen. It's been provided to councillors, and the context of it, Councillor Rogers, as I understand it, is about including the comments around the question that you just asked in relation to Swanhill's long-term power supply.
It is, yes. It's sustainability and reliability and continued able to grow our power source, and our power supply in this region is significant. It's the backbone of everything for irrigation, our industrial growth.
Yeah, that's right. Hang on.
Yep.
That's fine. We've got that covered. Did you wish to include comments that
Yes, I would like to
Councillor
include that
McPhee,
comments of Councillor McPhee that regarding the solar farms, the removal possible, if Councillor McPhee agrees, that we question that if we're able to remove the CRV discounts for the solar farms in our municipality, and that would encourage us to have more solar farms in our municipality as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr Mayor, just in relation to the recommendation that's on our agenda, what Councillor Rogers is talking about amendments to the letter we sent out, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So could the recommendation be that Council lodge the attached submission with amendments discussed in this meeting to engage Victoria? And then that doesn't have to be part of the motion.
Yep.
I'm sure the officers have got on board
I'm
what we're
happy
saying.
with that, yeah.
Happy with that, Councillor Rogers? You got that,
yep.
Sharon? Yep.
I'll second that motion, Mr
Second
Mayor.
that motion, Councillor McPhee. Thank you. Councillor Rogers, do you wish to speak to the?
I'd like to say a little bit, yeah. The entire Victorian electricity grid is under review and planning, and it's a very important time for our municipality to make sure we're well placed and positioned so that we can get the best benefit from this for sustainability, our long-term future of our power It is a very important thing as it's the backbone of our irrigation districts, supplying pumping and industrial, commercial and electricity. In past, we've had a couple of times we've had significant power failures in our municipality. One to note is the failure of the two 66,000 volt power lines from the Kerang terminal to Swan Hill, and left the Swan Hill area blacked out for over 2 days. So things like if we have the 220,000 volt power line going right through the middle of our municipality. We've got the power, it's just going past our back door, and we're not tapping into it and utilising it to the best of what I think we can be. So if we could review that, and I'll talk to that if we had a third 66 power line coming into Swan Hill, say from out in Ultima, where the tower line crosses the Ultima Swan Hill Road, a small terminal station out there could provide an essential backup with a small 66 line back into the zone substation here at Swan Hill, and really increase our sustainability and our reliability for our entire municipality. I think that is, if we don't flag that and ask for it now, once this is all planned and done, we'll miss our opportunity, and it will cost a lot of money. And we know how hard it is to try and get a bridge built, let alone something like power line upgrades is very hard. So, that's probably all about I've got to say. It's to support the long-term sustainability and viability of our municipality, ensure that we've got power for the next 100 years in front of us.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Councillor McPhee, would you like to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, it's important as a council that we stay engaged, stay at the table in relation to these discussions into the future, whether it be solar farms, wind farms, transmission lines, because it's about we're at the forefront of our community. We know we can help our community the best, not the state government. So the issues that were highlighted in the submission include economic benefits, employment opportunities, as they say in the thing, but I think the biggest thing here is community benefits, and to ensure the impact on agricultural and horticultural land. So we've got to get that balance right. I believe we do. I think it's the benefit for everyone right across Australia that we get these power upgrades done correctly and done appropriately, because everyone's speaking about cheaper power. It hasn't come yet. I certainly hope the day comes when I get some cheaper power. But we need to go along these lines and look at, as I say, for the benefit of everyone and the benefit of our community, we are best positioned to stay at the table in relation to these discussions into the future. So we need to make a submission, and I think with those slight amendments that have been raised in this discussion, I think the officers have done a great report in putting the initial letter together. But if they could add those other couple of points, I think it'll just highlight where we stand in relation to it. So I think it's Mr Hoverton may have done a lot of work in relation to this. So if you can thank your staff, Michelle, and your efforts in this area, it's very much appreciated. And I'm sure the community appreciate our efforts in relation to where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Does anybody wish to speak against it? Otherwise, I'll allow a couple of speakers in if anybody else wants to speak to the motion. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Welcome the opportunity to comment and acknowledge the work by the Victorian Government on the energy transition with this draft transition plan to reduce carbon emissions and arrest climate change, ensure a sustainable and hopefully low-cost energy for Victoria's future. As pointed out by the staff, it sets out the REZs or renewable energy zones and potential transmission projects, which hopefully will address some of the solar curtailment issues that we have in our region. You know, we have a region that is great for solar, but unfortunately some of the solar energy we're producing can't get into the grid unless we have these transmission line upgrades. So that's important work for our region. The Northwest REZ, which we are partially in, is largely determined by the location of the Kerang substation, and so, you know, it doesn't cover a lot of Swan Hill Council, so I'm pleased to at least see that we should consider and do more work to understand whether we need to expand our area within the REZ, because community benefits may be more clear and more certain if you are within the renewable energy zone. I thank Councillor Rogers for the work he's done on this, and I think there's a real opportunity. We have our renewable energy advocacy document that is still being undertaken, so I think we need to do some work to get that finished, and because it will be impacted by this transmission plan. I also think that, community benefits like the rates issue that Councillor McPhee brought up are really important to understand too. So, yeah, support the submission that we're going to make and look forward to doing some more work as a council and being involved as councillors in understanding our energy future for our municipality and the benefits for ratepayers that will be delivered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. Do we have any other speakers to the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Ms Granger, for the work that's gone into the report, but also answering a lot of questions in relation to the report and specifically outlining what council's powers or lack of powers are in relation to this matter, because I think it's really important for the community to understand our role in that. So thank you for that. Agenda item 2.5, adoption of the 2025-26 budget. Mr Brown or Mr Free, or both?
Thank you, Mayor. We might be a combination. I'm not going to say much. I've only been here a short time and had a look overview of the budget as it's been presented. It presents as a very sound budget. There are substantial capital investment. It continues all services that you've been providing, and I think it's one that I certainly think it will stand you in good stead over the next year. So I hand over to Mr Free to give a more detailed evaluation of the budget.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So it's a requirement of the Local Government Act that Council has to adopt an annual budget prior to 30 June of the upcoming financial year. So this report presents to Council the 25-26 budget to ensure we comply with this Act. Council's obviously been involved in the preparation of the budget prior to today, beginning with the development of the major projects and capital works plan. And then once Council officers have completed their operational budget requirements, Council has reviewed the draft in its entirety, and at the April Council meeting approved the draft for public consultation. 10 submissions to the budget were received, and responses to these submissions are included with this report that we've presented today. The budget's been prepared considering the Victorian Government's fair go rate system and the rate capping imposed via this system. So for 25-26 year, the rate cap's been set at 3%. So applying this cap, Council's budgeted to raise $29.4 million in rate revenue. Since the draft budget has been prepared, Council's now adopted the revenue and rating plan, which comes into effect from the 1st of July 25 and guides the revenue and rating for the next upcoming 4 years. So the plan is simplified. The revenue and rating plan basically has simplified our rating categories, and these changes have been reflected through this budget document. So changes to the revenue and rating categories, we've clearly identified them in section 4.1.1, I think it is. Yep, of the budget. So just to be noted that that's the change from the draft budget. So for 25-26, as Peter mentioned, the budget maintains the current level of operational services and has a budget of $45.7 million, that's excluding depreciation, on providing these services across the municipality. In addition to this, the Council Works program for the 25-26 year is budgeted at almost $42.1 million. And from what I can gather, that's the largest capital works program Council has budgeted to undertake in a financial year. So to do that, obviously we've been successful in attracting grant funding for a number of these projects. So that grant funding now totals $15.7 million, which is a significant value. So these grants are a great reflection of the work Council's undertaken to ensure our proposed projects are of the highest quality and are returning great outcomes for our municipality. A significant portion of these capital works is budgeted on our road networks, with just with almost $13 million worth of renewal works for the year. The most significant project of these being the Carini Street project, which will provide a great outcome for our area. Basically, we commend the recommendations that are contained in the report. I think they're page 385 of the agenda. So we're now presenting this for your adoption of the 25-26 budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Free. Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the report. Any questions, councillors, on the report? This has been a lengthy process. It's not just something that's been thrown at us today. So, but are there any questions in regards to the budget as presented in today's agenda, councillors? And if not, I will... Councillor
Just
McPhee.
one question, Mr Mayor. In relation to the submissions, we have made some minor changes to the budget, one being about the greenhouse project.
Carbon monitoring.
Yeah, carbon emissions project.
Yep.
And you said that's going to be coming out of surplus. What is our surplus on the budget now?
60,000.
So
a
we
rate
still-
surplus of 60,000. Yep.
So we still have a rate surplus, eh?
Yes, we do.
And, yeah, that's funded that.
Yep.
All right, so thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Councillor Jennings? No? Do you have a motion? Well, go for it. Moved Councillor Jennings. Do I have a seconder for the...
As per the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
As per recommendation, thank you. Seconded Councillor McPhee. Councillor Jennings, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I do, Mr Mayor, thank you. Once again, as per the previous one, it's a substantial amount of work that's been done by Ash and the staff, and of course councillors ourselves. Over many sessions that we've had, there's been a lot of discussion over the rating and revenue plan, and indeed the budget itself. So I think it's a fantastic bit of work to be able to provide $42 million worth of capital works off a rate base of $29 million is a wonderful achievement, and there's some very, very good projects, capital works projects in the pipeline, some already commenced, but just to name a couple, as Ash said, almost $13 million in roadworks. Pardon me. Robinvale worker accommodation will be another wonderful thing once that's completed and necessary. The finalisation of the gallery and the tourism hub projects will be signature projects for us. What's happening at Riverside Park, particularly with the 10 steps and the bank restoration there. Future stages of Tower Hill that are planned to unwind. The continuation of the community plans for all of the regional areas that we look after have put their wish list together of what they want done in their communities, so that will continue on. Robinvale drainage and Naya riverfront projects were also included in this plan, and lastly the Pendle Island footbridge linking Pendle Island to the Pioneer settlement, all major and very worthwhile projects that the community will be able to see the benefit of their rates, the expenditure of their rates. So again, I commend the budget and think we've landed on a pretty good spot with that amount of work to be done off the rates that we're collecting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, as Councillor Jennings says, there's a lot of work goes into the budget, and it'll only be a few months' time that the staff will be starting on next year's budget again. So it's like painting the Sydney Harbour Bridge, Mr Mayor. But anyway, that being the case, look, it's like all our staff have got to be congratulated for the work they put into this. I think it is a very fair budget. We are only going with the rate cap. Some councils always go to the Essential Services Commission and ask for to go above and beyond what the rate cap has. All my time on this council, even before rate capping was in, we always, and still do, try to maintain as low a rate rise as we can for the municipality. But as everyone knows in life, costs do go up and they will continue to go up. But we're trying to minimise that cost into the future for the ratepayers, and it's pleasing to see that our borrowings, which is on a motion from many years ago, a previous council, about they're going to decrease by another 7,000, which that's a good thing. And I think we are in a very sound and stable condition. There's been reports done by the state government and federal government recently in relation to sustainability of local government. We are very fortunate in this area to be sustainable. There are a number of councils around us, some of the smaller councils are struggling with that, this sustainability, because of the cost shifting that happens from state government back onto councils all the time. And but we've been able to maintain a great level of service and efficiency all the time I've been on council, and all staff ought to be congratulated for it. And I think you should ensure that they made aware of that, Mr Barber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Does anybody wish to speak against the budget? Does anybody else wish to speak to the budget? Councillor Broad.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to say well done to the team on a great budget. I think it's financially, it's never been a better time to be in the municipality. The second congratulations I want to say is, as a new councillor, I feel very informed on the budget, and there's been a lot of work that's gone into helping us understand what these documents look like, and I'm pretty happy to say that I do believe that we are good stewards of people's rates. So congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to support everything that my fellow councillors said. It's been a great, long, drawn-out process. I see goodwill and good intent from everyone, and I'd like to congratulate the council executive team, the CEO, and all the staff all the way down to the one that mows our lawn at the front gate. I see a good team working together, and I just hope we can do as good as we've done this year, next year, and into the future. So, congratulations and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Does anybody else wish to speak to the budget? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Free. Thank you, Mr Brown. Been here a week and already got a budget adopted. Well done. But if you can pass on your thanks to the team in the background who obviously do a lot of work in relation to this as well. I also want to thank the community for their input. Part of resolving to accept the budget is that we respond to the submitters to the budget, but even outside the submitters, there's been a number of people who have spoken to councillors in regards to things that are important to them in this municipality, and I know from the discussions that were had that many councillors are very passionate about things that the community have spoken about, so it's good to see a lot of those things included in the budget, and it's really good to see our municipality continuing to surge forward with everything that's getting done. So again, thank you, and thank you, councillors. You can and officers. You can breathe for a month, and then you can start on next year's budget. Thanks very much. We will move on to agenda item 2.6, which is council's lease and licence policy. Ms. Morris.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and councillors. This is council's lease and licence policy, which was originally developed 12 months ago in 2023. It was developed to ensure that we had some consistency in relation to council's assets and managed buildings of council. It's had a review. There's been some minor changes, which you'll see in the table presented within the report. It's been through the executive leadership team, and we're making a recommendation that council approve the reviewed lease and licence procedure that we present to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, councillors? If not, can I have a motion? Councillor McPhee.
As per the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a second for the motion? Councillor Englefield, thank you. You wish to speak to the motion, Councillor McPhee?
Just quickly, Mr Mayor, there was very little amendments as such, just procedural amendments more than anything, which means I think we've got it in the right place. And this is about making sure that they're consistent across our municipality. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Englefield, you wish to speak? No? Any speakers against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2.7, internal resolution procedure. Ms Morris again, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, you recall that this came through a recent assembly. This is the newly developed internal resolution procedure for councillors when there may be some disputes between individual councillors. It's designed to provide both parties with in any sort of dispute with support and encouragement to try and resolve that dispute at a local level first, and if that's not possible, there is a process that you can go through, being conciliation and then arbitration if it's not being able to be resolved internally. This is not a new thing, the internal resolution procedure, but it used to sit within our councillor code of conduct, which you'll recall when you first became councillors that the state government put out a model councillor code of conduct, and that did not include the internal resolution procedure. So since then we've developed this policy. We got some advice. We actually bought the template from Maddox lawyers, so legally you can be rest assured that everything is in there that needs to be in there, and we're hoping that today you'll be able to review it and accept the policy that's in front of you. We did make some changes after some consultation at the latest assembly, where we did put some more information in around some documentation that we would use in the conciliation process, and also some further information in relation to records keeping. And other than that, there's been no changes from that council briefing. So we recommend today that you accept it. There is a time frame on this. It has to be accepted at this meeting if we can. That would be ideal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Morris. Any questions, councillors? If not, can I have a motion?
Happy to move as per
Moved
recommendation.
Councillor Jennings, seconded Councillor Rogers. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Jennings?
Only to say, Mr Mayor, that 26 pages of background there, it should have most occurrences covered, so a comprehensive document, and I just hope I don't have to resort to it at any stage.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Rogers, do you
I
wish to speak?
support Councillor Jennings' thoughts there and concur and agree, and hope, we never have to drag it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any speakers against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 2.8 on the agenda, the Council Plan Progress Report for the quarter ending March 2025.
Thank you.
Ms Morris, thank you.
Again. Yes, thank you. So as the Mayor said, this is the report that covers from the 1st of January until the 31st of March 2025. There were two more actions that were completed this quarter, which I've listed in the report. There are still 3 actions within the current council plan that are still in the planning phase, but the majority of actions are in progress or are complete and ongoing. I have made some commentary there around some of the things that are still in progress, and did mention at the councillor briefing that in the next quarter, which will be up until the end of this month, the final quarter of the council plan, there'll be a lot more information in relation to where that current plan is at. It will be at its end, and obviously you are in the process of developing a new plan as we speak, which will take effect from, may not get adopted until September, October this year, but it will take effect from the 1st of July. So this current plan will be completed by then.
Thank you.
So we're recommending that you accept the reports as presented, and we'll then put this out to the community.
Thank you, Ms Morris. Any questions on the report, councillors? If not, can I have a motion? Moved Councillor McPhee, seconded Councillor Thornton. Thank you. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr Mayor. This is a great document. There's a lot of work goes into this, and the staff are doing a wonderful job. Like our council plan's done at the start of the term. We are currently in the process of doing our new council plan. And as a result, when we put that together to ensure, and it gives makes the officers accountable to the council and to the community to ensure that we are heading in the right direction. And the way this progress report is showing, as Helen said, Miss Morris said, I lost the surname for a minute. As Miss Morris said, look, there's only a few that are still in the planning stage, so a lot of these items have been done already. These action items are done already. A lot of them are ongoing as well, and will possibly carry over into our new council plan. These are some just as business as usual type of things, which may be carrying over. But it's a great opportunity for the community to see what work is actually being done. People are ready to give us a kick in the butt at times, council, we're an easy target, but they don't appreciate the work that does go on behind the scenes. And these reports, this one and upcoming ones in relation to planning and major projects, if they took time to just read these, they would see how much work does go on. And occasionally, not that we expect it that often, but a pat on the back might be nice occasionally. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Thornton, do you wish to speak?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Any speakers against the motion? Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to officer reports for noting. Item 3.1, the quarterly review of financial performance and our financial position to the 31st of March 2025. Mr Free.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, the report for noting on the financial position for the quarter ending the 31st of March. So the purpose of this report obviously is to note the major variances from the adopted budget. Obviously we have wins and losses across some of the programs sort of thing there, but the noted items here are those expenses or additional income we've been able to gather outside of the program that will result in the full year result as per this report being $194,000 favourable to council. So I suppose since the last report was presented, the last three items there on that table are the variances that we've added to this report. So we've got some additional costs for the paddle steamer gem maintenance. Their library rental has been renewed at an additional cost, and there's a asset management plan required as part of the first term of council. So those three items have been added to the budget variations and just presented for your information, but obviously the result is still favourable to budget, so nothing alarming to report.
Thank you, Mr Free. Any questions there, councillors? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, Mr Free, just in relation to the unscheduled maintenance on the gem, 50,000, albeit not a lot of money in our budget, but it is unscheduled maintenance. What was that, and are we looking at making sure that the stuff's done into the future? We've got the maintenance costs covered.
Yep, so they discovered a bit of a leak in the hull of the gem that required some immediate action just to make sure it was not going to sink, I suppose. So the gem does do periodic caulking, and it's in our major projects plan, so every 4 or 5 years there is some works done on it to keep it up to speed. But yeah, they'd struck this issue, and we don't want to see the old girl sink, I wouldn't think, so it was necessary to have the work done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Any other questions, councillors? If not, could I have a motion? Councillor McPhee.
As per the recommendation.
Seconded for that motion. Councillor Rogers, thank you. Councillor McPhee, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, it's pleasing to see, budgets are, as the table says, there are favourable and unfavourable areas. Our finance staff do a wonderful job in relation to the budget. We always budget for a excess, for a surplus, which is great. And it's pleasing to see that this surplus is going to be quite significant at this time, whereas initially it was a budget of about 70,000. And that's something the council will address into the future. It doesn't come under this budget, but councils will be asked in the future, when we do get a surplus and it's signed off, we will be looking at where we do spend that money into the future. But that's about previous things. We don't include that in the upcoming budget. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Rogers, do you wish to speak?
No, all good, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any speakers against the motion? Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 3.2, the planning quarterly report ending March 2025. This is a new item to our agenda. Ms Granger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to report for the first time some quarterly planning statistics to you of how we've gone from January to March 2025. We have provided as an appendix some terminology because, like all processes, we all use jargon. Planning has a clock that stops and starts, so total days, as a community would see it, aren't actually days in the process. But this is a good news story to report this time. And we've collected data using a lot of our systems, including reports we provide to the state government. So from January to March 2025, we made a decision on 50 planning permit applications. 33 were permits issued, 8 were secondary consents. So a secondary consent is usually someone putting in an amended plan to a plan that we had approved. 4 extensions of time, so if someone wants to keep their permit alive because they haven't quite started or they haven't completed, we have to go through a process, and 5 applications were withdrawn. In addition to subdivisions, to planning permits, we also do a process around subdivisions, so it's not just planning permits, and we deal with statement and compliance and certifications. Currently, as of the 1st of May, we've got 29 active planning permit applications, 11 that are on track, 10 that are waiting on further information, 3 that are changes to permits that don't have a day's process, and 5 that are considered complex and will need more time and effort. The value of planning applications for the last quarter, I forgot to mention, was 21.6 million, so that's showing substantial investment across our municipality. You have on page 3 of the report a graph that shows it's up on your screen now, that shows in teal applications received and grey applications determined. And as our report shows, within the last quarter we've well exceeded the permits out versus permits in. It is constantly changing, as you can see, but it's good to see we've started to actually change the balance and get on top of old permits. That is assisted by the planning team, so at the moment we actually have staff in that team, so that's seen a change in timeliness rather than relying on consultants, or things slowing down because we don't have a full complement of staff. So I'd like to congratulate the team on the effort. In this report, we talk about a couple of permit exemptions, and we will do that constantly when there's something a little bit different. In the case of this report, we've talked about New Britain Road, and that was a failure to determine case where council said it would support a permit being issued, and VCAT has since directed a permit to be issued. And also last month it was a big milestone to actually approve the development plan for MacKillop College to now let the Minister for Planning issue a planning permit for the first stage of the school development. We've also taken the approach to give you updates on planning scheme amendments. In our case, it's the amendment to C79 was only approved and will be gazetted by the government next week. So that's our Monash Drive site that now allows us to look at redevelopment opportunities on that site. But there have been substantial state amendments, which are called VC amendments. They're all largely framed around how does the government and local government free up housing and development opportunities around housing to streamline the planning permit processes. So we've given you information on that. Happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, Ms Granger. Comprehensive report, and good to see plenty happening in the planning space. Any questions on the report, councillors? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, this is a very pleasing report, Ms Granger. Just in relation to it, officers' time in preparing these, because we've obviously, a lot of the time has been because we haven't had the staff and we haven't had the time. Is this going to create extra workload that's going to impact on the delivery of the permits?
No. So the initial report took a bit of an impact, but now we've set up a template. We've worked with Greenlight, who provide our IT for planning, and we believe this report should be simpler to produce each time.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? If not, could I have a motion, councillors?
For the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Councillor McPhee, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Broad, thank you. You wish to speak to the motion, Councillor McPhee?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, this is a great news story, and hopefully we'll see it come out quarterly as the plan is into the future. Like I said before in the last item, that council often get a kick in the butt at times, and especially in relation to planning. Everyone's always got a planning story that doesn't go right. It's wrong. It's this. This report shows us just on 85% of our planning applications go through on time. You look at what the state looked to strive to achieve as a 70% success rate. we are achieving just on 85%. I think that's a great effort, and it's to do with the amount of staff. We are fully staffed now in the planning department. Let's hope we keep them into the future, because that is important. And there's always going to be a planning situation that's not quite right, and needs more information and this sort of stuff, and they will go outside the thing. That is always going to happen, but people have got to realise, generally speaking, we are doing a great thing in relation to planning, and we are here for economic development as a council. So just take that on note, and thank you to the planning staff.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Broad, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr Mayor, would like to echo that. Well done to the planning department on the power of work, especially in the last few months that's been done. I think it's worth saying I would read this report not as to keep the department accountable, but more just for good information to have. I think Councillor McPhee touched on it. A lot of the conversations that we have as councillors are regarding planning applications or objections. So I think having information around that for us, but also for the whole municipality to see, is very valuable. So well done.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. Any speakers against the motion? Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. We'll move on to item 3.3. Another update report for the end of March on major projects. Ms Johnston.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This report is a progress update on major projects completed up until March 2025. And I'm going to emphasise that it's till March 2025 because there has been potentially, obviously, further activity that's been undertaken on some of these projects over the last few months. So some of the key highlights for the quarter include the Ronald Street housing units 5 to 8. All defects have been rectified and the units were handed over to Council in February. Long Street reconstruction. This project was completed prior to Christmas. There were some small issues or defects, and they will have been all corrected as of January. The Robinvale Caravan Park bank protection design phase has been successfully completed. The Ultima footpath, 550 metres of new footpath has been completed, and Council has received quite a bit of positive feedback in regards to that path. The art gallery redevelopment, the structural works are complete and rough-in services have commenced. The Swan Hill Tourism and Cultural Hub, the ground slab poured and structural framing is now underway, and councillors have only recently had a site visit of those two projects. The Robinvale Workers Accommodation, significant activity has been undertaken in the last few months, particularly the award of works for demolition, and obviously in the last few months that actually has occurred and that site's been demolished, and completion and advertisement of the building as well as the civil works has been out for tender, and I believe that's currently under valuation or being awarded now. The outdoor pool, the starter blocks have been received at the depot and hopefully they should be installed within the next 1 to 2 weeks. The Pental Island Bridge contract award for the detailed design, and the Robinvale Riverfront Terraces, the contract has also been awarded for the detailed design. So quite a fair bit of work has been occurring in Council over the last 6 months, and it is recommended that Council notes the progress made on the major projects between January and March 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Johnston. Any questions in regards to this report, councillors? Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to, I think it's about 5 of them that are behind, like on budget, but behind schedule. Are we going to get a new date at the end of the, to say when we're expected them to complete?
Yes, through you, Mayor. Obviously, with various projects, there's going to be different rationale as to why things get delayed. And for some instances, it'll be usually associated with some of the permits or pre-works that are required. And yes, in the next report, that'll be updated.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, can I have a motion? Move Councillor Jennings. As per recommendation, Councillor Jennings. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Rogers. Wish to speak to the motion?
Just briefly, Mr Mayor, that's again another good report that's just highlighting some of the work that's been completed to the end of March, and we look forward to receiving the next quarterly report for works completed to the end of June to keep it rolling. Thank you.
Councillor Jennings. Councillor Rogers, do you wish to speak? Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to the motion? If not, all those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to section 4 of the agenda, decisions which need action and ratification. 4.1, sign and seal. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this report as read, but I will make a comment. There is one, that one there. Number 1188, that has come through council previously. It was signed while I was on leave, and the acting CEO signed it. With the solicitor involved in this particular instance, they also like another form of identification to go with the signatures. The director acting didn't have that identification, so I've had to sign it when I've returned, just for full transparency there, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that, councillors? If not, can I have a motion? Councillor Englefield, move as per recommendation. Thank you. Seconded to the motion. Councillor Thornton, thank you. Councillor Englefield, do you wish to speak?
No, it's just put it through.
Thank you. Councillor Thornton? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 4.2, councillor briefings, record of attendance and agenda items.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Taken as read. If there are any amendments, please let us know, councillors.
Are there any amendments to the report, councillors? If not, could I have a motion? Thank you. Councillor Broad, seconded. Councillor Rogers. Wish to speak? No. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. We have no notices of motion. Do we have any foreshadowed items, councillors? No? No? Do we have any urgent items to be included? If not, we will move to section 8 to consider and order on councillor reports. Councillor Broad, we'll start with you this month.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just wait for the table to get up. There's been a few, obviously the council plan workshop was incredible. It was really good to flesh out a few ideas and get a bit of an idea of, I guess, the vision that the community's put together for where we're going. There's a few other meetings in there. I will just say the Swan Hill Link board meeting last night was incredible, and Swan Hill has been nominated for the Top Tourism Town Awards for Victoria, which is a credit to Swan Hill Link. So I'd encourage everyone to go and vote for Swan Hill. We'll see what happens in that space.
Thank you, Councillor Broad. Councillor McPhee.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I've had to put in one for a couple of months. I was an apology last month. The only thing I'll highlight in relation to this report is the meeting on earlier this month, the 1st, I believe, where I went down to the Pioneer Lodges there, and the sustainability group of starting getting a riverfront urban plan going through that area. It was great to see so many people there. I counted just over 40 people turned up to that, and went for a walk along the Little Murray there to look at what we can do into the future in relation to the area. It is an area that people don't go to often. It's one of the first times I've been down there for many years actually, and I think it's pleasing to see that there are people concerned about looking after this area and looking after our waterways. So we look forward to working with them into the future. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. Councillor Englefield.
Well, I don't have a lot to report, Mr Mayor, not being around much in the last month.
Thank you, Councillor Englefield. Councillor Rogers.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council plan workshops, they were attended. That was good. Got a few of them done. Attended the VHM Community Information Centre, so that's about the mine at Goshen. Audit and Risk Committee meetings attended on the 4th, and I think there was another one. That's a briefing. CEO performance review meetings, that's just all standard sort of stuff. One thing I did do last weekend, I would tell council that I did visit Mount Gambier, which is in South Australia, and I visited their $63 million sports and recreation centre, which is absolutely magnificent, believe me. And I just sort of suggest to our planning people that, if we're considering some plans up there with our swimming pool, that's a great place to have a look. It was outstanding. Of course, it had a $63 million price tag to it. I'd hope to get a little mini one day, but it was good to see that. And any ideas, I've brought some photos back if anyone would like to see them. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. And yes, it would be nice to dream about having capital budgets like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Councillor Jennings.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've had a pretty soft month, actually. It's gone easy on me in preparation for next week. As everybody else has, the council planning workshops, that we had a couple in the one day around either side of our briefings. And I just also wanted to thank Councillor McPhee for coming down to our TAFE Reconciliation Week event last week and representing council. Much appreciated, Les. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jennings. Councillor Thornton.
Thank you. As mentioned by the other councillors, I guess it's a wonderful thing to be ticking off the budget and acknowledge all the work that we've all put into that. That's taken a lot this last month, getting those things finalised, as well as the rating and revenue plan. I was unfortunately unable to attend the last Warraneen District Progress Association meeting, but look forward to attending tomorrow night's meeting and catching up with them. I have been putting some effort into making sure community are aware of this council plan that we're developing, and also enjoyed participating in our council workshops for that. So looking forward to that coming to fruition, and then I guess seeing it adopted and rolled out into our community. I've had some good meetings with people outside the Swan Hill municipality, trying to understand how to do my job as a councillor more effectively. So with different networks that I've established, so they've been useful, and hope that I can put some of that stuff into practice. Attended, yes, the Riverfront Enhancement Project workshop with Swan Hill Sustainability Group, which was a wonderful event. Look forward to more there, and also a webinar for the VicGrid draft transmission plan. So yeah, a busy month, and looking forward to another one coming up.
Thank you, Councillor Thornton. I won't run through all of mine, other than to say there feels like there's been something on nearly every day. Just to highlight a couple of things that haven't been mentioned, I visited the new Dalson's facility up in Carini Street as part of their official opening up there, and great to see like a massive investment into Carini Street, and a great facility that the Dalson family has built there. Murray River Group of Councils over at Yarrawonga with a presentation to the State Minister for Local Government, Minister Nick Stakos, very engaged in everything we had to say with Murray River Group of Councils, and hitting things like water and energy, housing, swimming pools, all sorts of things. But I guess the proof's in the pudding as to what comes out of that. But it was a great opportunity to be able to bring our ideas to the fore and have him recognise the things that are important to all the councils along the Murray River. Congratulate Swan Hill Racing Club on the Swan Hill June Racing Carnival. Fortunate enough to attend on Swan Hill Cup Day, and a great event. Unfortunately, the weather either weekend, the weekends either side of the long weekend would have been much more favourable, I guess, from a crowd perspective, but it was still an event that was well celebrated by the local community and people far and wide. Attended and opened a Wellbeing Expo and Forum on elder abuse, which is around abuse of elderly people, put on by a number of local community groups. Really, a lot of effort and publicity goes into domestic violence, making people aware of domestic violence, but there are issues in our elderly community with people being abused. So it was good to be part of that as well. And along with that, obviously, council planning workshops, etc., and a big week coming up in Canberra next week with Councillor Jennings and myself attending the Australian Local Government Association National Conference. So that'll be good to represent our municipality and on behalf of Rural Councils Victoria and the Murray River Group of Councils as well, to be present up there. So looking forward to that. That concludes my report for the month. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, look, just in relation, it's not something I've attended actually, but it's feedback I've got from other councils throughout the state. Our CEO actually presented at the MAV Forum on Planning down in San Remo, I believe it was, back earlier last month, and it was very well received, and he needs to be congratulated for the effort he did. Not only the CEO, but the staff that have done it, and the community that are doing in relation to housing in the area. Everyone's got a housing issue, but we are front runners according to a lot of the other local government areas, and the staff and the community ought to be congratulated for the work they're doing in that area. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPhee. And just to add to that, later this week we will be presenting to the state government inquiry into regional housing on behalf of our council, and I'll be doing one on behalf of Rural Councils of Victoria as well. So you're correct. We are being noticed in that housing space for the work that's being done. That concludes the ordinary agenda of the items. We will go into camera shortly and obviously come out of camera to close the meeting, but for people in the gallery and watching on the live stream, there'll be no further business to be conducted once we come out of camera. So I thank you for your attendance today and look forward to seeing you again at next month's scheduled meeting. So, with that, I will seek a motion, councillors, to move into camera. Move Councillor Rogers, seconded Councillor Jennings. Thank you. All in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Just wait while we do that. The camera's still working. Right, we'll resort to old technology and ask IT to disconnect us, to pull the plug.